Good morning and welcome to Gulfstream. Today, Brian Nato with you on a beautiful day here in Hollandale Beach. As you see, the turf, the tapeta, and the main track. Happy to welcome back in Angela Herman to the fray here. She's getting a little more sunshine before Canterbury opens later in May. And we got an 8-race card we're going to get to. Unfortunately, we are off the turf today because of some heavy rains here in the area yesterday and Tuesday as well with the 3 days off. So it is what it is, but we welcome you back and happy to have you.
Well, thank you very much for having me aboard. Thrown in a little last minute. We miss you, Ronnie, but we'll do what we can to get you some winners, make some money on this Thursday card. 8 races on tap, and like you mentioned, off the turf, but not an overabundance of changes that come along with that one.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the Tapeta. We are on a fast main track early. Pick 5 kicks off in the opener. We'll take a look at my ticket here today, and yeah, everything pretty much held together basically. I condensed it a little bit because it was really expansive. I was hoping a scratch or two might help me. It didn't. We'll go too deep here in the opener. In race number 2, 6-1 is the order. There you see the single, Gotta Like Him in race number 3. A replay coming up of that. And then a 5x4 late double as well. Number 12, my long shot Rachel Song on top. And then in race number 5, number 6, Kaiko on top. And I will mention, and I forgot to do so, we'll do it now before we get to the opener, $275,000 in the gross jackpot Rainbow 6. Again, 8-race card today. That will kick off in race number 3, so take note of that. I've got a ticket coming up a little bit, and as you can kind of see, the beginning of that sequence is a little difficult, so we'll get to it in a second, but let's get to the opener. We are off the turf, so what we do is we revert to 1.70 on the Tapeta. 2 turf races today. We'll go at 1.70. These are for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. It's a condition claimer. In the tag here, in this maiden optional claimer, I should say, $40,000. Florida breds don't have to be in for the tag. Both of us land on Leipzig. I lost my top pick, never been wrong. I didn't really change much around in terms of the Tapeta, but Leipzig on top for both of us.
Well, and I did something that normally I wouldn't do. This is the time of year you start to see 3-year-olds integrated with 4-year-olds. And even though in theory they're more advanced, they're more developed, and they're more experienced, as you see with the 2 4-year-olds on the inside, I did go to Leipzig on the outside because of that key race that she exits late in January. That was a really nice race, won by Well Into. You've seen a lot of horses come back and do good things since that time. She hasn't followed through with that, but she does take a resultant class drop, and I think the outside draw only helps her cause. I don't think the price is going to be much anything anymore with the scratch, especially if never been wrong. But if we can get anything around 5-2, I think that's fair value on a filly that's going to make an attempt at something she's never done before, but I think is in the right spot to do it.
Yeah, I agree. Blinkers go on as well. Take note, Edgar Perez is going to ride the 5 as well. Very few changes, but Pete will be up in a little bit. The 1 down inside for you, Double Cosmo Girl, the maiden special weight's got to wake her up a little bit.
Well, it should, and Double Cosmo Girl is going to get back to a surface where she's performed well before, but not well enough to win. She's had 12 tries at it in a couple different circumstances, so Double Cosmo Girl and Downburst look like one and the same to me. You could use them interchangeably underneath. I use them second and third. I think that's going to be a popular play by a lot of people. So if you are looking for something in the vertical department, you might want to dig a little deeper for a price underneath. I think that these 2 are very viable to finish second if you are an exacta sort of player and not provide much value in that respect.
Yeah, I put Motown Madison in second. I think getting back to the turf was going to be big. I think getting back to the Tapeta is fine as well. If you look at her Tapeta and turf races, she's never been in for a tag. The dirt certainly didn't work out for her, so a surface switch might be in order. In race number 2, we kick off the early pick 4 here. Angela is on those tickets today, and we'll take a look at that right now.
I am. I tend to lean on the lighter side as far as horizontal sequences go. And I start a similar way that you did. I know you used a couple of horses in race 2. I used different ones, but I have Exalted Charm on top, the order being 4-1 for me. We did single the same horse. We saw the same sorts of things, and we'll discuss that in a minute with Gotta Like Him in race number 3. Now, in the 4th, I did spread out like you. The scratch of the 2 replenish does allow in the 14. I did not factor that horse. That's the also eligible that gets in, but stayed towards the inside of the field, that being the 3 through 6 being my top 4 picks, but went very heavy in there and just ended with 4 and 6 in race number 5. The 4 is my top pick, Eris Indy. Eris Indy I do like, but not with enough strength to single her. But if I was going to cut this down to $6, that would be the way to go. But that leads to the $12 ticket you see on the screen. pretty light to get by in comparison to that
Yeah.
pick 5 of yours, but I thought that the first, when it was on the turf, would be more of a separator than it probably is now.
Yeah, and we're both spreading in the same race. The 4 is problematic, and that's where my long shot is. I think you're allowed to look for a price there. Let's get back to race 2. I know you've got Exalted Charm on top. You found a trainer stat for Mark Pasley as well. Not a guy that claims a lot of horses, but this is a flattering stat for him.
No, he doesn't, and it's a very interesting angle to take with Mark Pasley because he's only 3 for 13 first off the claim in the last 5 years. Only 13 claims, but you do see a solid ROI to come along with that. It's a 23% angle, $3.83 the ROI off the claim, and the longer that he's had them, it seems, the better. A couple of horses that he had for a good amount of time before putting them back on the track did both come back to win, and Exalted Charm has been off since December. He's had some time to work with this gelding, get to know him a little bit better, and he does come out of a fairly live race. I'll figure it out in small reason. Both came back to win. Maybe Exalted Charm can follow in suit. Maybe that he's had that freshening. Maybe they've made a couple of tweaks with him, and he sticks out from the rest of the field that I didn't see with a bunch of speed, and that could be put into the race early with what I don't think will be a very aggressive pace.
Yeah, we're going 6 here on the main track. This 12-5 claimer, and she's right. Angela's right. There's not a lot of speed in here. To the outside for me, Hello Jackie. You know, he hasn't done any running in 2 starts off the claim for Jose D'Angelo, but the class drop here is a seismic one, and I just kind of think he's probably in the right spot. Not a great sign that they claimed him for a quarter, and he's in for 12-5 though.
Well, he's also a 3-year-old taking on his elders. I kind of gave my take on it. I mean, what's the point in the year for you where you start to really factor in the 3-year-olds more confidently with their older counterparts?
Yeah, I would think June maybe is the middle of the year. There's no doubt. We're getting at least towards the end of April now, but we started these towards the end of March, and it is a significant disadvantage. I don't think there's any doubt about it. They get a little weight allowance, and that helps. But as you mentioned earlier, the maturity factor of these 3-year-olds has not yet gotten to the older horses.
Well, right, and I am willing to take a 3-year-old a little bit more with maidens rather than these horses who have proven kind of what they can do and what they can't. But I know that you honed in on Hunter as well on your ticket. You went Hunter and Hello Jack. I went Hunter and Exalted Charm. But do you think that Hunter gets the pace that he seems to need to make his late rally?
Well, let's bring up his last race. There's not a lot going on here, but I mean, he comes in off a win, and I think in these kind of spots that's significant in and of itself. And Hunter's going to be the 4 here, and he's actually out the back. And in this race, the horses that were 8-6-2 early on were 1-2-3 at the line. So he got some help here. I don't think there's any doubt about it, but he's going to come into your picture in a second. It was a pretty sharp win here. Yeah, the pace is a question mark for a horse like Hunter, and he's always going to be at the mercy of it a little bit. Here he is here. I thought this was a pretty solid effort. You got Sovereign of Speed, who just set the pace at a mile going really, really quickly, and Hunter's threading through here. And I'll give him credit. Dirt races here at Gulfstream Park, especially going 6 furlongs, aren't typically one like this, but now he is facing better on a class rise and maybe with a little bit of a muddled pace scenario. So, yeah, he's going to have to hurry a little bit. I don't know if he can pull that trip and pass them all again.
Yeah, things unfolded pretty well for him that day, but take nothing away from him. He does have less to work through today, so I couldn't completely dismiss him from the mix, but he would be my second choice if I was going to narrow down the ticket that I already have. That's pretty trim.
Pretty trim already. 8-race card here on Thursday. So we break after 2. When we come back, Rainbow 6 time, 275 in the gross jackpot guarantee. And welcome back to Gulfstream today. Brian and Angela with us here on a 4-day race week, kicking it off here on an 8-race Thursday card. And as I mentioned before, we went to the break. Rainbow 6 kicks off in race 3 today. It's already up to $275,000 in the gross jackpot guarantee. Let's take a look at my ticket. It is a little bit of a funky one, I will admit. Here's your single right off the rip here. Gotta like him in race 3. We've got a replay coming up of that. A horse I would think is going to be a really heavy favorite in there. And then we spread in the middle of this sequence, a 5x4 interior double. My long shot is the 12, Rachel Song. In race number 5, I thought that was a really tricky 5th race. Number 6, Kaiko on top for me. And 3 deep in race 6 with the 4, Lord at War. That's the other race taken off the turf today. That'll go at 1.70 miles. Best bet of the day, What's Good in race 7 from an outside attack post. 4 deep in the finale, and that is a really, really good feature. The optional claimer, the return of In Due Time, the 6, but I'll go with Celestial Glaze for trainer Danny Hertak. Has been in really good form. That is a $48 ticket, and Angela, gotta like him. We'll bring up the replay right off the bat here. It's basically my notes have they're off and you lose. It just did not go well for him at the start here.
Oh, no, he stutters and veers out and makes a whole mess of problems for him and to the horses, too, is right. And gotta like him. You would have expected to be close to the pace that day, ended up way behind the 8 ball from the start. And here's another angle of it, just as atrocious from that angle. He ends up almost last early on. And like you said, his day was pretty much done from there. Yeah,
and you cannot be where he is sprinting 5.5 on the Tapeta and expect to make a dent. He did not. He did pass a few horses to his credit, but now again, we're hoping for an alert beginning today. I would think he's going to be in the 6 or 7 to 5 range in here. Maiden special weights to 3 starts to start his career. Jose D'Angelo moved him on the drop to the Tapeta last time, and you can draw a line through the race, and you look at his form too. He wants to be close, and so if he breaks, they're in trouble.
Well, right. And in theory, on the outside, you would think that even if this horse does veer a bit, as he did last time, he's not going to hit anybody, and he can get a clear running line to the lead. Now, if Gotta Like Him does the same sort of thing, and say an Instinctual or even first-timer Brooklyn Dreams shows some speed, that makes his day more difficult. But I think we both saw this the same way. Like you said, a lot of people are going to see this the same way. If Gotta Like Him brings the speed to the table that he did prior to that, this is going to be a tough one for them to battle him early and keep going with him, because he does get that conditioning out of 2-turn races. Cutting back to the sprint, getting that one behind him, gives him a lot of edges, including the outside posts. So we both singled him and are just going to have to deal with the short price that comes with him.
Yeah, and you make a good point with the outside post. That's going to help with nobody to his right. I have no idea what to make of Instinctual. You were a little more forgiving than me. He hasn't run an inch in 2 starts in a row.
That's fair, but he's going to get over to the all-weather surface, worked decently over it, and does this on a class drop. You're just looking for something to change with these instead of trying the same old thing over and over again and see if you get a different result. This is going to be a change for him, and now that the barn's had him a couple of starts, maybe they get the best out of Instinctual, and this spot is a good place for it. I'm willing to be more forgiving, but I think that even maybe his best shot and a big improvement doesn't put him in the winner's circle, so I did use him second because he'll be a short price too. This just isn't the place that I was willing to go shopping for a number. If you are, I'm sure that you'll get it with one of the lighter race horses, but I went on the side of experience.
Yeah, Barfly's a maiden special weight dropper for Timmy Hills. Hasn't been out since September. Lasix is added. Comes out of a pretty live race too on debut.
No, that's fair, and Barfly did a little bit of running at the end of that, but seemed a little one pace to me, but I would give Barfly another chance with a little more ground maybe down the road.
Yeah, if Gotta Like Him does what he did last time, all bets are off in here, but provided that he breaks alertly, he's going to be a short price in here. We'll take a look at race 4 now. Kicks off the late pick 5, and we've got horizontals galore here on the 8-race card. They're stacked up basically each and every race. Here's my ticket here, and I said to Angela off the air, it was initially $120, and it's a tough sequence. I've got my long shot I mentioned here. So as opposed to the Rainbow, which was a 20-cent base, this at 50 cents, I singled in race 5, the 6, Kaiko. We'll talk about that one in a second, a 4-year-old daughter of Brethren, and then the same 3 by 1 by 4, late pick 3 to get out of the sequence here. It's a $30 play. I kind of felt race 4, which always was on the Tapeta, routing 1.70 miles for the 3-year-old filly maiden claimers 35. To me, it was the toughest race on the card. You can see it. This is good TV here. None of our picks basically match in front. Coco for you, who I do have in my, I have fifth on my tickets.
Oh, good. Okay, so
Yep.
I'm honored you put her in fifth. Thank you. But I stuck towards the inside and with horses that I thought would maybe come from off the pace. As much as I don't normally see things materializing that way, I saw it in this spot. More than anything, my angle was going against Newton Star. I think that Newton Star is going to get overplayed in here. I don't think that her first race at Tampa was something that I would dive in on second time around. I have seen Facciabella a number of times, the horse that beat her. Take nothing away from her. Facciabella got away with a pretty easy lead, and Newton Star wasn't too far behind and didn't carry on the same way. She didn't show the most tractability that day. So, yes, I did use a ton of horses in my early pick four. Coco is the one that I like on top to come and get them all. But there's not enough to go on with any of them to really make a strong case to single. That was just my main angle in here, was trying to beat the likely big favorite in Newton Star.
Yeah, this is a separator race in the horizontals. Well, I've got Rachel Song. She's my long shot on top. We'll take a look at the replay, and there was a lot going on for her. At the end of the day, she did not do a lot of running. Here she is entering the first turn. This is on turf, too, and, you know, Bobby DeBona is not a turf trainer. He's got poor first-out turf stats as well. She's a little rank, kind of didn't really like chasing, running up here a little bit. You can see her head's getting thrown a little bit. The jock's got all he can do to kind of get her relaxed, and never really did. But then we'll fast forward in a second here, entering the far turn, and she showed, and she's going to tip out. She's wide here. She never really got covered up anyway. She's going to show a decent little burst here and before tiring and kind of flattening out. And this is a wide brush into the far turn. I just thought she showed a little bit here. You can see her running on through the turn, and you know, then she kind of says, I've had enough. I've kind of had enough here. I did what I felt like doing, and that's it. But I thought there was enough there to say maybe she's okay. She's probably going to get to a more preferred surface. And if nothing else, she's got the start behind her, and this is not as bad of a post on the Tapeta as it was going a mile on the turf.
I'm not going to talk you off of any bombs in here. Rachel Song needs to do a lot more than she did there. I used one of the horses that beat her Ransom Style because she was in front of her every step of the way, but I do question if anything will pan out similar to the way that they did, or that things did that day. So tried to cover my bases. Get some horses that are dropping in class, get a horse that's done this sort of thing before, get horses that are familiar with the Tapeta out here, and throw them together and see what happens, because I can see this race unfolding chaotically.
Yeah, stretch out with Novelli for you, and she should be a lot closer today, adding the 3 furlongs to her trip.
You would think so. I don't know how much speed she has, period, whether she's going short or long, but she did seem to take to the surface just fine. You know she can come on at the end of things. She does have 2 starts to her credit, and she's another one doing something new. I'm not trying a horse that has utterly failed doing this sort of thing. I'm going to see if she's better now that she gets more ground to work with.
Kick off the late pick 4 in race 5. We go a flat 1-turn mile. 3-year-old fillies are 4 and up, which have never won 3 races. And we'll take a look at Angela's ticket now in the late pick 4.
I know it's much different. If you thought that our tickets intersected far too much early in the card, they do not in the late pick 4. Now, he has a single that I did not use in race number 7, but we start out fairly similarly. 4-6 is the order for me in race number 5. I'm going to single my best bet of the day, Empire Attraction. The race does come off the turf, but he was so impressive in breaking his maiden last time. They're putting him into a spot where they can't lose him today. We'll talk a little bit more about him in race number 6. 1, 5, and 6 for me with Love Rhapsody on top. I'm going to see if she can't steal race number 7. And the 8th, 1, 2, 3, and 9 staying on the inside. We're going to take a shot against In Due Time, hoping that this is a stepping stone to bigger things down the road. Another $12 pick 4 for me in the late sequence on the card.
Good one in the finale, and I do agree with you that In Due Time, if you're going to beat them, it's going to be today. Let's get to the 5th here. Let's just start with the replay, because this has got 3 of the major players here. The replay we're going to show, we've got Little Belita, Katie's Dream Girl, in Bullet on Tap in here. And Little Belita's 2-path pressing. Bullet on Tap's taking the worst of it. Katie's Dream Girl is tripping out to the in the back here, kind of garden trip, stalking a little bit. I thought Little Belita ran really, really well, because you're going to see in a second here, Bullet on Tap, it's in mid-stretch, is going to end up backing out of it as Little Belita kicks on. And this is kind of one of those races within the race. And to me, Katie's Dream Girl is a little flat, getting the right kind of trip in here. To me, the horse I wanted out of this race was Little Belita, because she had to run hard every step of the way, and she really ran big to see this out and just get beaten a little bit in deep stretch.
Well, and to see them come back against each other again and again, they get to know each other, and sometimes they can take turns at this level. But I viewed this race a little bit differently than you did. You'll notice my top 3 are not shown on the
Yeah.
screen in here. I opted to dismiss this one for the reason that I mentioned. Sometimes they shuffle themselves up. If they face off against each other over and over again, it becomes kind of a cloudy picture, so you take the new face.
Yeah.
That's what I'm opting to do. I go 4 and 6, take a couple of horses that haven't dipped in against these recently. Eris Indy being the very obvious one on paper. They're good with this move in the barn. Now, Terry Pompey has dropped 7 for 30 overall when she's making a 50% drop in price, but 3 for 8 specifically is her number when it comes to below $10,000 claimers. When they drop in down here, they're coming in to fire a really good shot. I mean, they have an excellent ROI, over $5 return on investment with that small sample in this angle, but it works for the barn. And Eris Indy, even though she's not going to be much of a price, is in a really good spot to get her third win.
Yeah, I mean, this clearly could wake her up. I did the same with Kaiko, who not only drops, she goes 2 turns to 1 turn. She goes to PETA to the main track. You look at the main track races, 2 and 3 and 4, well, all of them. They fit very nicely with this group. She'll run for the first time off the claim on the main track for Jack Abrams. So, you've got her in your mix as well.
Yeah, that might be the last time I agree with you on this card. I guess we find out.
We get a little more diversive from here, as Angela's hinted at. We are off the turf in race number 6 here, this starter allowance. It's a good one, too. Unfortunately, with the rains in the area, we lost this one. So we'll go 1 mile and 70 now on the turf. 3-year-olds and upward, the 25 starter. Best bet of the daytime, Empire Attraction for you.
Well, yeah, and it was a play that I was a bit more confident in on the turf, admittedly, because it was taking on Lord of War, who seems to be more of a synthetic specialist. Yeah. But now that they move over to the Tapeta, Lord of War does take that step up. He gets the advantage, and though he's the one to beat, especially on the switch. But I thought that Empire Attraction, like I said, was so impressive in coming from off the pace to break his maiden the way that he did. It looked like there was more in the tank, and this horse seems to have come back and hit stride again. Whether he can take that over to the Tapeta is a question that he has to answer, but you'll get a better price as a result. So I opted to try to take him to beat Lord of War, but he is a very worthy favorite, and I would guess that you'll get even less than the 5-2 you were offered initially.
Big stat on Empire Attraction, too, that you found. Let's pull it up here, guys. Safi off the claim. Take it away here. That's a big one. It
is a big one. Yeah, he's 7 for 18, claiming horses out of their maiden win. That's almost 40%. And even though the ROI is just a shade of over $2, that's a hefty enough sample, I think, at least to take a shot with Empire Attraction, who will be far over the normal price that these horses are when he claims them out of their maiden win, only by the presence of Lord of War. If that horse wasn't in here, he would probably be the status quo for one of these horses that he claims out of his maiden win. But today might be a better deal. And I'm thinking that 7-2 would be more than fair on a horse who's obviously in the best form of his life thus far, even though it's only 5 starts deep.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Lord of War, as Angela alluded to. I mean, really, I don't know if he gets helped that much because he ran so well on turf, but he's the house horse now on the Tapeta, and he was winless on the turf, even though he ran so well now, and they're gonna know he's in here because he's gonna be a problem now.
Well, yeah, and I thought that maybe he could regress out of that because he did fire such an excellent shot last time. He stayed tucked in on the inside, didn't really get much of a chance to run. You could see he was bottled up, but still had a little more to offer. I don't know if he can fire that same shot again. That was his second off a layoff, and he has fired 2 very good races since that December return. I'm hoping for maybe a little bit of a regression. I have to, because I'm taking a horse out of a maiden 20 to take on a horse that's faced off against some of the best at this level and above. But that's the shot that I'm taking, and hoping that he takes a step back and we can add a little value into that late pick 4 with the 1.
Yeah, it looks like Safi made a good claim at the right time with Empire Attraction. We'll kick off the late double in race number 7. We're going to flat 1-turn miles on the main track here, maiden special weights here, and it's my best bet of the day, so I'll lead it off. And this is good. You've got it nowhere.
Sorry.
Yeah, maybe it's a bold best bet of the day. To me, I just didn't want Imanra down towards the inside. She was coming out of fade races, and I think what's good, bred for the main track. We've got plenty of foundation. I like cutting back when you're running a 1-turn mile on the main track. I like bringing some foundation to the table. There's a lot of pedigree here that says the main track is in here. I like this outside post, too.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I can get on board with those points if Love Rhapsody wasn't in here, but Love Rhapsody's in here, and I think that her drawn on the rail with Jaramillo back in the saddle, who got a lot of speed out of her in those 1-turn races where they were teamed up back in October and November, might be able to run what's good off her feet, and that's the only reason that I completely dismissed her from the mix. It's not that I don't think she could win this sort of race. It's that up against the horses that drew towards her inside. I just don't know if she'll be able to keep up really at any point. And I don't know how much of a move forward she has to her as opposed to one steady amble where she can go along on the front end. Love Rhapsody has to prove that she can carry her speed, but I still think that takes a lot of the starch, maybe out of the two, out of What's Good and out of anybody else who would like to go up and contest the pace. Now, that being said, I don't know who's going to do it, so I did take Love Rhapsody on top, and I'm hoping that she can maybe finally, after 5 races of conditioning, has enough in her to hang on and maybe get brave on the front end. They're good in this barn, moving horses from turf to dirt, and to be precise, we do have a stat for Rohan Crichton moving horses over with maidens particularly. Now, he is 5 for 13 moving maidens over from turf to dirt. That's a 38% clip. And they return over $3. That's the ROI for that particular move. If you want to take bigger numbers overall, he's 14 for 59 moving horses from turf to dirt that are not maidens. So this is just something that they do very well. And I think it might put a little bit extra into Love Rhapsody so she can take that speed all the way.
Yeah, big stat there for Rohan, who does everything well, but that kind of amps it up a little bit more. And Monra, you know, I mentioned her. You've got her a little further down. Well, we've talked about her a little bit. We'll go Literate off the claim for Jorge Delgado's interesting, too.
Literate is in there for me just because if the pace completely melts down, I know that Literate will be coming late. Whether she'll take to the dirt or not remains to be seen, but she's worked out well enough over it. And I think that the horses to her outside are completely opposite of her. I think that she might be kind of a middle-of-the-road type. Nothing but pumps might go straight to the back, and What's Good might clear her and leave her in a spot where she might not have to take so much dirt in her face.
Amonra, to me, just comes out of a race I didn't want to be a part of. It was a merry-go-round, 1, 2, 3, the entire way around the track. I didn't think she did a lot of running. She is second Lasix. She is second off the layoff. Okay, I get all of it. But to me, at an underlaid price, I was willing to beat her, at least play against her on top. The
Couldn't
finale.
sound any more excited about her.
The finale is a good one, and it's a feature, and it would be a feature on any day. It's an optional claimer here, 3-year-olds and up, and it marks the return of the 6 in due time. Let's bring up the replay. This was a Triple Crown kind of horse, second in the Fountain U. This is the win for In Due Time here on February 4th, and this is significant because it was at a mile. I know he's 6th today, but this was just an absolute demolition job. Kelly Breen picked up his 1,000th career win a few weeks back, and this is an exciting newly turned 4-year-old now, and Angela mentioned something earlier that I agree with. I think today, though, as good as he is here, at 6 furlongs off an over, let me do that math in my head, 386-day layoff.
Oh, my.
Today's the time we want to at least try to beat him, but he's a heck of a nice quality prospect.
Yeah, I take nothing away from him, and not picking him on top is not any sort of slight to his ability. It's just that when he was in this relatively going 6 furlongs, we have seen him do it, he was third best, and he's facing off against some nice horses. So take nothing away from him. You have to just think that this is a step on the road to bigger things for In Due Time, probably with more distance involved. So if you're going to take a shot against him, now's the time. So I did. I'm going to load up with 4 different horses that I hope can maybe outfoot him early and hang on. Now, who that'll be, that's up to the riders. I'm hoping that it's Yes, I'm a Beast. I'm hoping that Rohan Crichton and Jaramillo have an excellent day together, and I hope that they ended out with this horse maybe in the 5 to 6 to 1 neighborhood. But I know at least I'll have the lead for a little while, if not the whole time.
He's going. There's no doubt about it. Yes, I'm Beast is going. It's the reason I picked Gatsby in second because he's got a little speed too. Maybe he tracks him. Celestial Gaze has been in raging form for Danny Hertak and Donna Green, and he answered the bell last time with a good 4th in the Sir Shackleton. It looked like he was making a serious winning move on the far turn and flattened out a little bit, and I think maybe the real running kicked in as well. Wayburn, Dean Delivers, Steel Sunshine, those are legitimate stakes horses, but Celestial Gaze ran well, and now he gets back with some friends here. The wins 2 and 3 back make him a major player. It's an exciting race. The old Willie Boy is in here as well. Gatsby's done good work for Arundel. You mentioned Yes, I'm a Beast. Rohan can get very brave on his day, so it's a very exciting way to end the 8-race card. But before we let you go here, we've got the lightning round, and as we always do, we kick it off with the standings here. And you know, as we get into the middle now of the Royal Palm Meet, things have tightened up a little bit. We'll take a look at the jock standings. Edgar Zayas is going to be out for a little bit, but he's got 11 wins. Lionel and Jaramillo making a dent, and Safi's still on top of the trainers standings as well. But it tightened up a little bit too as Jose D'Angelo. Hey, how about Juan Alvarado for Arundel doing good work? And of course, Steve Dwoskin as well is going to be live throughout the Royal Palm meet. Best bet long shot time. Best bet for you today.
Best bet for me is Empire Attraction. Surface switch a question, but price should be decent.
For me, it is in race 7. That is What's Good for me on the outside. She thoroughly disagrees. Long shot for you?
My long shot is in the last. I'm going to see if Yes, I'm a Beast can take them all the way.
Yeah, you won't have to look hard to find him. And he could get brave in there. Meat is in race 4. That is Rachel's Song on the outside. Maybe big balloons in there at a very, very square price. And our buddy Kevin, good buddy Kevin Kirstein up at Churchill Downs was front and center to see Mage, runner-up in the Curlin Florida Derby, make his first local appearance under the Twin Spires. This is the other day. He will have a workout there for Team Delgado. And well, we got a quick second here. Your thoughts on? Well, let's talk about the Gulfstream horses, the Mages, the Fortes.
The Mages, the Fortes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't be too much different paths for the two of them to get there. I like more what I've seen out of Forte. I haven't seen as much out of Mage thus far, but until Forte does something wrong, I know that I'm influenced by seeing him in person, but still, until he does something wrong, how do you find a way around at least using him if you don't take him on top?
Yeah, and you saw him in the Fountain Youth and the Curlin Florida Derby, and it's such an interesting race in that he was going nowhere, and then at the end of the day, he actually basically won with ease.
Well, and I don't mind not getting a horse's very best shot, the prep before the Derby.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's okay to have even a mild step back, which I guess you could consider the Florida Derby from the Fountain of Youth, but something left for the biggest test of all of their lives thus far, going 1.25 miles the first Saturday in May. He's got a lot of tools to do it. There's some other ones that do have tools to do it from outside, but not as much with Mage, because he's got some more questions to answer. And I don't know what kind of price he'll be. He started out as kind of a wise guy horse. We'll see. I mean, you being the proficient lines maker that you are, establish fair odds on Mage. 15, 20, what do you think he'll end up being, and what do you think is fair on him?
Fair odds on Mage is probably about 18. I like him. I think I think he might be the most talented horse in the race. It's a giant ask of what they're asking him to do from an unraced maiden to start the year to winning the Kentucky Derby on the first Saturday in May. He'll be a good, solid price. The risk reward will be there. It is a big ask. There's no doubt about that. And we're going to talk, we've got the weekend and next week as well. We've got a lot of championship meet horses running in the Derby. And speaking of which, last but certainly not least, 10 Palms is going to have the party on Derby Day. Get your tickets. It's a lot of fun. We'll be blowing it out here at Gulfstream Park for sure. And that is coming up quickly. A week from Saturday, they will run for the Roses. And the championship meet horses very, very well represented. That is it for us. Angela will go out to the scale house. Claudia will be joining me a little later on as well upstairs to Pete for the changes. Happy to have you aboard.